Welcome to the Hired Geek Podcast, where each week we explore the impact of EdTech on the student experience with engaging, fun, and relevant conversations that honor the wide range of work happening all across the higher ed ecosystem. I'm your host, Dustin Ramsdell. I've been working in and around higher ed for the past decade, focused on student support and digital experiences. Join me every week for discussions with some of the best minds in education technology. The Hired Geek Podcast is a part of the Enrollify podcast network, a robust collection of shows designed to help higher education professionals like you grow. Explore our other shows at enrollify.org or check out some of my personal favorites linked in the show notes below. Enrollify is made possible by Element 451, the leading AI-powered all-in-one student engagement platform helping institutions create meaningful, personalized, and engaging interactions with students. Learn more at element451.com. Welcome back, everybody, to another wonderful, super special live episode of the Hired Geek Podcast, coming to you from Raleigh, North Carolina at the Engage Summit. Very happy to be here talking to another Enrollify creator, Jenny. Again, I feel like your reputation precedes. I said the same to Allison, where it's like, I know of you, I know, your work and what you have been up to, but like we never met, really had any like deep substantive conversations. So this is going to be a treat for me. Again, I'm having many amazing interviews here, but if you want to introduce yourself to the few people maybe out there that don't know who you are, brief introduction of who you are, what you do, and then we'll talk quickly about your podcast.
Yeah, you're making me feel all the feels. I'm Jenny Li Fowler. I actually am a full-time personal assistant to my 11-year-old daughter. But while she's at school, I'm the director of social media strategy at MIT. I do have a podcast as well with the Enrollify network. It's Confessions of a Higher Ed Social Media Manager, which this is my first season and it's been awesome. Yeah, and I recently added author to my titles, which is crazy. I wrote Organic Social Media, How to Build Flourishing Online Communities, which has been exciting. And yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
Yeah, I guess that idea of like the multi-hyphenate, for like the cryon for your name would be like, like author, podcaster, mom, whatever.
It's weird. Yeah. Somehow that all happened. Yeah.
Yeah, but I always love because a lot of actors, you can tell they have like maybe just like a little bit of like an ego. They always put like philanthropist or like, with that, they always have to put that thing where it's like, yes, I'm an actor and a director and a producer and this, but I'm also like, right. Like, don't come for me, man. But so I guess if you want to just say a little bit more about your show, because I know it's one of the unique ones where like you came in as sort of like a new host for it was a show that existed before. I think there's a few others that had like different hosts from different seasons. So like you're obviously putting your own sort of vibe and feel and, your fingerprints all over it and everything. So like, what was that experience like of kind of coming into an established show, and like, what's the experience been like of becoming a podcaster?
Yeah, I think that you can't compare or try to, because that just gets in your head a little bit. But I think that for me, I just, embraced the opportunity, was really excited, and you just tried to make it your own, right? And yeah, I think it's just all about like putting, staying true to who you are, staying authentic to who you are. And it is unique in that it's not like 100% marketing with a capital M per se. It's more about, the day-to-day ins and outs of being a social media manager, particularly in higher ed, because I feel like we have a lot of the same challenges and a lot of the same experiences. And it's just as much about strategy and tactics as it is about like relating with one and the things we encounter and what we've learned from our mistakes and trial and error. So yeah, it's been great.
Yeah. Well, I know it's I don't know the true like origin story of it, but it feels, it's made in the mold of like Jamie Hunt's like Confessions of a CMO. So we're like, yeah, you're going to talk about like work, what you do, why you do it, the impact that it had, but then just that idea of like the confessions piece of really kind of getting into just sort of like, like work-life balance, motivation, like, and like
the nitty-gritty of it is a hustle. I don't like hustle culture, but it is a hustle. And yeah, and definitely big shoes to fill. Talking about not trying to compare yourself. Like you look at her numbers and you look at my like fledgling podcast numbers, but we're growing, we're holding steady, we're having fun. And I think we're, sharing information along the way, which is really what it's about.
Yeah. Well, because there could be a version of that show where it is just purely like two social media managers or people just reflecting on being managers and like
or
just
venting. It could be
venting
a
or just sort of
therapy
goofing off or
session.
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is like, that's all well and good. And I think, trying to strike that right balance. And I think, again, like make it your own. Because I think that would be like a interesting experience, I think, for anybody. Podcasts are so sort of personality driven. And so it's like, there's that temptation of like, well, should I kind of honor what came before? Is it my own? And that, and like, but you do also have like something that's established. Like you're coming in and you're kind of, engaging with that community that's sort of been set up before you and everything. So and for me, like doing this long enough, it's kind of like these sort of little like, podcasting tales are sort of interesting to me, I guess, because they're very unique. But
it's a very tight community. The social media higher ed community is a very tight community. And one thing that, the previous host did that I still picked up on and continued with is she always asked at the end, her guests, like, what is your confession? And so that is one sort of like thing that I've continued that I think it was a great little nugget that she did. So tip my hat off to her.
Yeah. So just moving on from that, though, I'm asking everybody, because I think it's, our network just has a wide diversity of a bunch of different institutional perspectives and everything to share. So take this question as you will. How is digital transformation sort of showing up in your day-to-day work? And, whether it's sort of like from strategic kind of nuts and bolts kind of, because I think certainly, social media in of itself is sort of just a, was kind of the predecessor to this moment that we're in with so many other sort of digital transformations, like it's very disruptive. But curious, I guess, from your perspective, how is digital transformation showing up kind of day to day?
Yeah, I think it drives everything that I do, even from early on, sort of like the emoticons that became emojis, that, things were sort of video, now like horizontal video, now they're all vertical videos as the digital landscape changes and the technology changes and our audience consumes digital content differently. I think so does the way of my job. So I think it really just leads everything that I do. I think, we have to constantly stay on top of it. I just launched a Be Real team, and is it something that I thought I would be doing a couple of years ago? No, but is it something I'm excited about now that we've launched it? Yes. And why did we do it? Because that's the way that the digital landscape is going. That's the way our audience is consuming a new content, new channel. So there we are.
Yeah, it is kind of interesting. And I know because obviously like the social internet was this huge disruptive sort of digital transformation just for society. And, higher is not immune from that. And the idea that like, I feel like each new thing tries to like solve for the problems of the last thing. And I think like Be Real especially is one of those very unique ones where it's like, it's so personal, it's so sort of like authentic, or I guess like it should be like this, I think what to strive for. Yeah, right.
It's kind of raw, right? Like no filters, no vanity metrics, or it's supposed to be no vanity metrics. And it's just interesting. I think the audience tires of, I don't know, the trends is not the word that I'm looking for, but the audience likes to consume content in new ways, in different ways, and once everyone gets on board with something, how it just doesn't make it unique or cool anymore. And so then the social landscape sort of like takes a left turn and goes a different direction. But yeah, I mean, I think that will always be the way it is, right? There's always something new that you didn't think of, and something, that pops up that you wouldn't have thought the direction you would have thought you would have gone in, and there you are.
I'm curious, I guess, like the disruption of like, okay, well, we've got to kind of make this pivot, go into like Be Real. When you're making that decision, did you say like, well, then we need to like pull back on something else? Because like you said, it's like there is always this sort of like tendency of like, okay, everybody's on Facebook, we're moving from that, and everybody's on Instagram or whatever. Like, so there's that idea of like people kind of, using air quotes here, kind of move on from platforms. They aren't using them maybe as readily as they used to, or the same way as they used to. Like, did that come up at all? It's like, well, if we're going to add something else to our plate, something else has to come off or something. Like, is that part of it?
Well, we don't have a huge team, and I am well aware of my limited resources. And so this is always something that I'm considering. And honestly, MIT, we've never been early adopters in anything. We've kind of been, we usually see how things are done, if higher ed even moves into that space. But we were really strategic about this. Our vice president is, like, it's really important. It's one of his priorities to bring our content in front of a new audience. And we're always trying to find like low hanging fruit or easy ways to do that. For example, putting a weekly newsletter that already exists and making it a LinkedIn newsletter.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of, I did not anticipate, I guess, talking about Be Real that much because I'm like, it's weird when I'm like, there's like a platform where like it kind of resists, like, is it sort of like the kind of pitfalls that other one, like, is like, TikTok now is like, it is what it is. It's a great platform, but it has started to become overwhelmed with like, people just selling really random stuff, whatever, like TikTok Shop. But
Yeah, and now it's like doing landscape videos. So TikTok is now competing with YouTube. So yeah, I've said that I feel, social media is having a quarter life crisis in that a lot of times it doesn't have a clear identity. Like they're all sort of mishmashing together. And so, yeah,
yeah, it's like hard to know what to make of it because it's like, okay, fine. I mean, that's fine. But I think it is, it's like the idea of like TikTok doesn't need to exist. It's not natural law, whatever. They start veering from their path and maybe they, aren't as big as they could have been or, sort of like on a downward trajectory. But yeah, I don't know. It's like, I wish sometimes, yeah, like the idea, like something like Be Real feels like they've very much embraced like a very focused kind of functionality or whatever. So it's like, it's nice. I like that. But given the limited amount of time we have, I'll wrap up here because I think, yeah, that was just one really kind of clear example, I guess, of sort of digital transformation was like the integration of Be Real into your sort of, kind of workflows and everything. So that's really cool to hear. But we're ending here as we always do of what are you looking forward to in your work? Sort of, optimistic note, what's kind of on the horizon that's got you excited?
I actually got some conferences that I'm going to speak at coming up. PSC Web in Canada, which is really exciting, and Content Ed in Liverpool in England. So that's super exciting too. So yeah, get to do some traveling, do some virtual presenting. And this has been delightful. Thanks so much for asking me on your podcast.
Yeah, I appreciate you making the time. And yeah, I guess you'll be international speaker added to your multi-hyphenate. But yeah, I mean, it's just been really great to, meet a lot of these other creators on the network for the first time in person, help uplift the cool stuff that they're doing and their cool shows. And appreciate everybody engaging with these episodes in the Engage Summit. So see you later, Jenny.
Thanks, Dustin.
Hired Geek Podcast is a part of the Enrollify Podcast Network. If you like this podcast, chances you'll like all the other Enrollify shows too. Our podcast network is growing constantly, and we've got a plethora of marketing, enrollment, and higher technology shows that are jam-packed with stories, ideas, and frameworks all designed to empower you to be a better hired professional. Our shows help you find your next big idea and feature a selection of the industry's best as your host. Learn from people like Jamie Hunt, Seth Odell, Dave Kibbolds, and Eddie Francis, as well as so many other of your favorite leaders in higher education. Enrollify is made possible by the support of Element 451, the leading AI-powered, all-in-one student engagement platform helping institutions create meaningful, personalized, engaging interactions with students. Learn more at element451.com.